Happy Halloween makers! This is another project I made for the Tim Holtz Idea-ology Halloween release for 2023, and I'm calling this Concealed in the Cobwebs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This is a simple facade box, vignette box that I made, and it's super fun, and it lights up. So there is the light. And it is kind of double-sided a little bit. I did go ahead and decorate the back with a story that will explain the name of the piece. But before I get into the details, as always, I want to share with you how I made this piece. And then at the end, we'll come back and go over anything that I may have missed during the tutorial and talk about a few things that I love about how it turned out. So let's go ahead and get started on Concealed in the Cobwebs. For this project, I plan on using the large vignette box. I'm saving the others for another project that is in the works. I am planning on using the baseboards. So out of the pack of baseboards, I pulled this kind of stone archway and the wooden door. And I am going to cut the wooden door and kind of have it opening up a little bit so that you can see in. And what you're going to be looking at when you look in is something that I pulled from the layers. So of course there's all this wonderful bunch of things in the layers packed this year. So you've got everything from portraits and snapshots and paper dolls and florals and all kinds of things in there. I love this archway set as well. But for this make, I'm using this and probably this paper doll, and then with the door open you will see in, and you'll see some of the arches, and you probably won't see her feet because she's close up, so it'll be something like that. And then this will obviously be in the back, so there will be kind of forced perspective with her closer to the front and that in the back. And then I plan on lighting it up. I'm thinking about using the green Halloween lights, but that may give it more of a weird laboratory look. And I am not going for the laboratory look, so I may go ahead and just use regular tiny lights. And then for either the sides or maybe the front somewhere, I'm thinking of doing my adornments, sconces, candle holders, and then putting a couple of candles in it just for added dimension. The last thing from this release that I am going to be using, so this is going to be really a fairly simple make, one that you can make very quickly and get put together, just because all the stuff is so amazing and there's really not a lot that you have to do with it. But you do need to cover the box. And so I have chosen this paper from all of the beautiful, amazing backdrops papers that I have been using with delight. So I thought that this went the best with the archway. And so I will be covering the outside of the box with the paper, and then the additional will cover the top and the bottom so that the box is covered. And then we have this on the front. And hopefully with that, just those few simple things, this is a very easy Halloween make. Not a lot to it, not really messy, not a lot of grit paste. I will be putting a little bit of grit paste. I will warn you of that. So you may want to have some grit paste available. But for the most part, I just want this to be a super simple make that it's accessible to anyone to be able to put it together and have a decor piece for Halloween. So let's see if we can do it and do it quickly. I invite you to come along and let's get making. let's talk about where we're at. So I have the box completely covered, and then I decided I kind of wanted to look like it had been aged and around for a long time. So I went over the whole thing with some Lost Shadow and Distress ink, and then I took my Distress spray stain in Gathered Twigs because that was what was out. You could use any brown you want. I just happen to have this one out. And so I took the spray nozzle out. I'll kind of go ahead and do it because I can just dry it off again. But anyway, I left a bunch of ink on it, and I just went over the edge like this. And then once I put a bunch on the edge, and some of it was kind of dripping down, I put so much on it. Then I took my spray and I just sprayed right along that edge. And this was after the paper was already completely dry on the box. Sprayed around the edge and just let it run down. And then once I really started getting it to run down, I let it dry so that it would just look like it's been around for ages and ages. So that's how I did that. I also sprayed stain on this front facade and let it run down. And I trimmed this down so that it will fit inside. I did not trim the sides, just the top and bottom so it'll fit in the sides. And then I'm going to have it sit in like that because that kind of gives it some dimension without me having to do much. So I'm going to attach the edges to the fronts here, and I'll probably put a little bit on the back here so that it won't really move once it's in with all the shipping. Before I put this in though, I need to have something on the ground. And so I saved a little bit of what little was left here. And it doesn't cover the whole bottom, but that's okay because like I said, the sides are going to come up, and also this is going to be on there. It's going to cover it. So I'm going to attach this going all the way to the back because this front area that will have a little bit showing, that's not going to show, because not only am I going to have this covering the front, so that would cover up a lot of what was missing in the front here, but I'm going to put this on this. So you can use facades with a lot of different things, and I wanted to show how you can use a facade with some of the baseboards. So it fits perfectly on there, and then I'll probably maybe run some paint over there, maybe not. Maybe a little grip paste, I don't know. But you can see that it fits perfectly on there. The opening is great. So this arch covers in a lot of this arch. And the only thing that shows is this bottom step here, and I think that's perfect and actually really awesome because it covers up any other little space that may not be covered by that paper that's in there. And it also looks like an additional step up. So I think it's really cool. Love it. I will probably be painting it pumice stone, like I'm going to paint this before I attach it. So I'm going to paint this front and back with pumice stone because I don't have any more paper left. And then once I get it painted, before I attach it, I have to put this in, and I need to get the lights. So let me show you this a little bit and see what you think. So I went back and forth with the lights. I think I'm going to stick with the purple. So it's kind of hard to show because it hangs down. Oops. But you can see how the purple looks. So it still shows all the things. And so I think I'm going to go with purple. For the lights, they'll be hidden up inside. You won't really see them. And this girl will be here. And then I think I'm going to have some bats coming out. And I'm still working on whether or not I want to put the doors, cut the doors and put them coming out. Also going to be putting that, I could put them on the front if I don't use the doors, but I really love the doors with this, such a hard decision. So I'm going to be putting the sconces either on the front or on the sides with the candles. So don't forget that as an added little bit of detail. So that's where I'm going with this. I need to be painting, adhering the things inside so that I can then get the lights up here. I'm going to have to drill a hole through at the top, and the pack will be on the back. So I have to figure out how I'm going to be hiding the pack on the back. All right, so as you can see, I have a lot to do, so I'm going to get back to work. I have the facade painted with pumice stone, and I did both sides, and then I went around the edge with my finger, and I just took some ground espresso and wiped it on the top. And before it completely dries, I'm going to spray it like I did the edge of the box, and just have that run down. Like that. And it's running down both sides because there's the front and the back. So you can kind of see what it looks like. And I'm just going to let it run. Then I'm going to dry it with my tool so that it just looks like stuff's been running off the roof. And you won't see this part right here. So I'm going to get some of that water off so it doesn't warp the etc. too much. Then I'll just dry it. Once I got the facade painted with pumice stone, I realized that it needed some aging. So I ended up aging both pieces. And what I did to both of them is that I took a mixture over here of some black soot distress paint, just like 1 drop is all you need, some ground espresso, and then my pumice stone, obviously, as the base, and then if I needed to lighten any areas. So once the pumice stone was dry, I went over it with the ground espresso and black soot, kind of mixing it, went around the edges, then I put it on the top like I did, like I showed you I did the stain on the box, and then I sprayed with my water and let it run. And then it still wasn't dark enough, so I just painted the whole thing and then sprayed it a little bit, just kind of let it model up and dry. And so I think it looks good. This is going to be the back. And then up here, I put the black soot and ground espresso all across the top, and then went ahead and sprayed it, and you can see how it kind of just dripped down. And then I let it dry. And I did go over it a little bit more with some ground espresso paint, just to kind of darken it a little bit. And then I wiped it off mostly. And then you can see here how they go together really well now. And I think that looks great. But this is very flat. And so I wanted something more to kind of go with the decor around the arch here. And I don't know why I have this. So I must have used something out of this packet, a whole bunch, because I must have probably 9 or 10 of these corner pieces from the Adornments Flourish from Idea-ology. And that package has 3 large metal adornments in it. So I don't know, I don't remember what I used the other 1 or 2 for, but I have a ton of these corner pieces. So fits perfectly up here. And I think that adds just what I need. The way that I did it, painted the entire surface pumice stone, let it dry, and then I took the mixture of black soot and ground espresso and I put it all over it. And then I just kind of tapped some of it off and I sprayed water on it so it would go down into the crevices, and then just kind of let it dry. Took off any excess that I felt needed to take off so that I could see the detail. And I think that works really well. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to stop there. I was going to put this piece in between, but it it covered up so much of that awesome background. And so I'm just not sure that I'm happy with all of that. Maybe if I could get it just so that there's a little bit, that might work. And I want this on the front because with the light, if the light is behind it, I think that it will, let's see. I think it doesn't shine. Yeah, see? So it makes it so that you can see through it. What do you think? Does that take up too much? So I think I've decided, I think I'm going to go ahead and I will use this one and just angle it so that you only see a little bit, and then that gives a background for her, and then I can still have bats coming out. All right, so I'm going to start adhering things and getting those lights, and I just wanted to update you on the adornment that I put up here, and these are still available, so link is in the below if you don't have the if you don't have 9 or 10 of these like I do. All right, so I had the hole drilled for the lights, and I threaded them through the hole up at the top and have them wrapped around just a piece of, it's the Etc. trims. And I just cut off any of the excess so it doesn't go to waste, and it makes a great little piece to wrap the lights around. As you can see, I have pretty much all the bulbs either on the bottom part or on the front over here, so that this is all just wires right here. I'm going to put some hot glue on the wires, then I'm going to press it up into here like this and stick it to the top of the box, and then you won't be able to see it because this will be covering the light bulbs. Okay, so I wanted to show you how I did that. I put a little bit of mummy cloth down in the bottom. This is now secured in, bottom secured in. We're good to go with that. I have my bats out, and I even pulled a raven out, so we'll see if I'm going to use that. I did color the back of the bats and the raven, just in case the back is seen at all, because if I kind of roll these up a little bit, I don't want white showing on there. So I did do that. So some of these will be the smaller ones, like this one. I am planning to kind of attach back in here. And so they will definitely have their wings rolled up, and just that center part will be attached so that you see dimension like that. Okay, and there'll hopefully be a little bit of, I don't know, shadow or something on them. Okay, now let's talk about, actually, I will just glue this on while I'm here with you so you can see. So I just put a bunch of glue on the part where there are wires. And I just stick it to the top. You gotta hold it so it makes sure that it cools off and it stays in place. And then, see? We've got that going. Okay, I think that's pretty good. It's still pretty warm, but all right. Now I'm going to continue to hold this. Let me move this out of the way so I don't knock into it. And while I continue to hold this, I'll show you what else I did. Get my bats out of the way. So here's that front facade, and I talked about putting the, putting the transparency on. So I used about 2/3 of the transparency. I put the red tape all along the arch, and then when I got it to where I wanted it, I went ahead and pushed it down, and then it was so close over here that I added a little bit more red tape that I'll pull off in a minute. I may not need to, well, yeah, you can kind of see it through here, so I will definitely pull it off there. Okay, then I'm going to attach it to this piece, and remember I had painted that metal adornment, so I just have some clips that once I put the collage medium on, I just clipped it on there so it would dry. So that's been clipped on there while I've been finishing up with the transparency and the lights and attaching the backdrop in there. So now I have my girl, I have the transparency, it's between these two, so it's going to be nice and sturdy, and gives her something to lean up against. Oh, I also colored her. This is Peacock Feathers Distress Crayon, and then I just used whatever brown tones I had. I think it's Frayed Burlap and, oh man, what is it? Frayed Burlap maybe. Oh, maybe I used a green on her. I didn't even look. Yeah, Frayed Burlap, which is kind of green. And some of the Vintage Photo on her skin tone. And then her hair is just Vintage Photo. So that's finished. And once I just color it in. And once I color it in, then I just take my little water brush and I go over it lightly just to smooth it out. And that's how I color the paper dolls. Okay, so then I attached her with collage medium to the transparency. And so I'm going to put collage medium all over this and attach it to this piece. And I'm gonna have to let it dry before I can attach it to this. I want to show you how to make sconces out of forks. I know I did this last Halloween, but for just a reminder, refresher, or if you haven't seen it before, you didn't see the Halloween makes from last year, this will tell you how to do it. So these sconces are actually going to fit the drippy candles, and it could be any size of the drippy candles that you want to use. I have glue on the bottom of this one. So this one I kind of messed up on, and I actually broke one of the little bits off, so I'm not using it, but you can see that when you get it done, you put one of the candles on it, and then you can put it on a wall. So how do we do that? All right, so you get one of the forks out of the Silverware Adornments set, and this is one of my favorite sets. I say it all the time because there's so many things you can make out of the silverware. Don't look at it as just silverware. There's lots of stuff you can do with it. I really should do a video just on the silverware and all the things I've done with it, and I'm sure that you guys can think of way more things than I thought of to use with the silverware. So that's a lot of the things that I love about ideology, is that don't look at it as just whatever it is. Yes, it was made to be that, and so that's wonderful, and we can use it as that, but also it can maybe be something else that we reimagine, and that's just as wonderful. So anyway, that's just my little thing, because I don't want the silverware to go away because I use it all the time. So I really want people to buy silverware and use it so that we can have it as a tool for our makes. Okay, so here's what we do. So we want this decorative part to be facing us, and this back part is going to be against the wall. So hold it, and then I just bent it forward very gently so that it was facing this way. And then I have these needle nose pliers that are round. And so I took, let's see, I took and I held it and I bent it kind of back and tried to bend it over a little bit, kind of around a little bit. And you kind of need to do this gently so it doesn't break off, but you want it facing kind of out. And then you take and you curl it, and then curl it some more, and then curl it some more, and then I still moved it to the side a bit. And then I did the same thing with this one, pulled it up and over, and then you kind of have to keep moving it to make sure that you get it, oops, so that you get it, you know, flat eventually. And you can do them all at once, you can do them one at a time. And it's easier if you kind of gently keep moving this one out and then up. Turning it. And then, oops. And then grab it. Rolling it some more. And then push it back up. And these aren't going to be perfect, and that's okay, because you want it to look kind of old and like, you know, these have been around forever. So, and then I did the same thing. I just pulled these up. Same thing with these. Roll them down so that you end up with something that looks kind of wonky. But when you look at it this way, it kind of looks like an old Gothic candelabra. And then I'm going to glue a candle in there. And then you can stick it on the wall just like this. But for me, I like this part to kind of come out. So usually I put my finger here and I will bend and bend and bend to about that first little area right there, because I just like it to have kind of some, I don't know, some character where that's coming away from the wall. Then if you hold this right at that line right there, hold this, and then you can use your finger to pull this flat where it will go against the wall. But I want this to stay bowed. And then you may have to pull this down a little more to get it to go against a wall, so that it'll be shaped kind of like that. And then this part right here should be even with this part down here that is going to go against the side of whatever you're putting it on, like that. Okay. So then you would attach that, and the way that I would do that, I would lay it and probably prop something up under here. It doesn't need much, but just something small under there to make sure it's fairly even. You decide where you want it, and then you add Distress Collage Medium to that little part and that part, and you would attach it on there. Before I do that though, usually I will attach my candles. Sometimes I attach additional drips, and then I have to paint them and I have to do all of that. And you also may want to age this, and before you put it on, and the way that I would age it would be that I would take some ground espresso, dry just a little bit, and then you can start rubbing it off. You can also, once it dries, you're not going to want to just leave it with that one. So hang on. You have some black soot here. So I don't want to use my heat tool because it'll make the metal hot, and then I won't be able to continue to show you how to do this. But you can see that I'm kind of wearing some of it off, but I'm leaving a lot of the color on there. And sometimes it takes a couple of coats. Then once you do that, you can take some of the black soot. And I already just gave this a good shake. I'm using the same brush because it really won't matter. I'm going to go over it with the black. Bits and pieces here of that glue in different spots. Try and keep it from being shiny, which it's not helping that I'm wiping it off a lot with my finger, but you get the idea. You just kind of want to leave some and take off others. Another thing you can do is grit paste really helps to age these. And then you would do the same once the grit paste dries, you would do the same thing. And that really helps with these side edges not to be so shiny. Okay, so that's basically how you do that, making a sconce out of a fork. I think it's fun. I think it looks rustic and old and like it's been hanging on, you know, a wall for years. So there you go, fork sconce. Last update before I attach the front to the box, I just wanted you to see the bats that I put in there. So I put some distress resist spray. I think I already put it up. Let me grab it. I put some distress resist spray on the bats before I put them in. It gives them a little bit of thickness, or helps them be a little more sturdy. And so then I could just attach just the tiniest bit of the wings on these, so that they're there's some dimension. Some of them are closer and some of them are farther away. And then I have the tiniest one in the very back, high up. So now I can attach the front, and you can see the light shines off that shiny part of the bat, so you can kind of see it a little bit more. And then you can see the other ones in the back there. So there you go, that gives it some dimension. And then I have two on the front here that, you know, depending, once the collage medium is dry, you can poof the wings up if you want, so that they add dimension. And then I also added down here one of the crows. Those all have the distress resist spray on them. I like that it gives it a little shine. And then up here, this was really flat compared to the bit of shine on this. And so I went ahead and went over this with some distress resist spray as well to give it a little shine. And now I'm going to attach this to the front. And I wanted to tell a story of the little girl. And so I went through the sticker book and I pulled out some clipping stickers and made a little story that you probably can't see the whole thing, but it says, Amelia Hardy, we thought she was lost, doing her best to conceal herself. Then suddenly she vanished into cobwebs. So I'm going to go ahead and try and fit those on here as best I can, so it doesn't cover up too much of the back. And if I feel like it's covering up too much, I may put this on the back. Unfortunately, the story did not look good on the front of this piece, so I went ahead and decided to put it on the door and put it on the back of this piece, and then I could use the door to hide the battery pack. And in doing that, I needed to pop this up. So to pop it up, I put 3 layers of 1/8 inch foam on the back of the door, and then I cut 3/8 of an inch wide strips of thin chipboard, and I just kind of bent them around and covered all of the layered foam as best I could. Now, you can see that at the top I have an opening, and at the side I have a wider opening. This is for this part of the wire, and this is for the battery pack, so that when I put it on, I'm going to take the foam off, and then I will attach it here. And then that will allow, I'm going to have to paint that brown, but that will allow me to take out the battery pack, change the battery when I need to, and then I can just push the wire and the battery pack back in, and I don't see it, but I still have a decorative element that tells the story and covers that light switch. And as you saw in the beginning, this is the finished piece. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. So I love the facade baseboard, just so great with all that detail. It just looks so good. I really love it just the way it is. I mean, you really didn't have to do anything much to it, right? And I'm really happy with the way that we were able to incorporate that cobweb detail. I was not thinking it was going to work at all, but I really am happy the way that turned out. I like that when you look down in there, you see some mummy cloth so that you know that this place has been abandoned, as if the cobweb wasn't enough for you, and the bats, and then the missing doorway. But I really do love that. And then, you know, she just kind of has this look about her like she's plotting something or something like that, which leads us to, of course, her story on the back. And her name is Amelia Hardy, and they thought that she was lost because she was doing her best to conceal herself, and she vanished into the cobwebs. So she was plotting to hide. And here on the back is our missing door. So we do have the door kind of leaning up against the very aged back of the vignette box. And of course it is doing two things. It is not only adding some dimension, some interest in helping us tell that story of the girl on the front, but it is also hiding our battery pack and the wire from the lights. So it's doing double duty. And I hope that you enjoyed the quick little, you know, kind of tutorial on how to make these. It really is just kind of up to you as to how you twist and turn these and curve these into something. But I hope that it gave you ideas for using those forks for ways that they are not forks, and that soon more people will find the silverware adornments to be a favorite in the Tim Holtz Idea-ology everyday line, because I don't want them to go away. And so I hope that everybody begins to love the silverware as much as I do for things. Anyway, this became a little bit more involved than I originally had thought at the beginning. I thought it was just going to be a really super quick, straightforward kind of thing. And then as I got more into it, I thought, no, you know, that's just not the way I make when I do ideology. I always have to kind of add a little something more, and, you know, more and more, and it becomes a little more involved. But I don't think that this is too over the top. I still think this is achievable for basically any maker, including beginners. Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. And as always, you know, I want to be as helpful as I can. If there's anything in this tutorial that I didn't cover that you really wanted covered, or, you know, I know that when I was doing the fork sconce tutorial, that a lot of times that I was working off camera just a little bit, and you may not have seen exactly every single thing. So if there was something that I missed that you need a little bit more instruction on or information on, please contact me. You can either put a question below if it's a quick question that I can answer just in a couple of sentences below in the comments. I'll be glad to do that. If it's something more detailed or something you might need additional pictures or something like that, the best way to contact me is through my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com. There is a link for my blog in the description of this video, and there is a contact section right at the top on the right hand side. And Leota says, yeah, she knows because she sits by me while I answer those. So please feel free to contact me that way, because then I can send additional information to you that would be a little bit longer than maybe a comment below, a reply to one of the comments below. Anyway, long answer to tell you, if you have any questions, always feel free to contact me. I'm glad to help. And I hope that you found this somewhat inspiring, and I want to wish you a very creative day.